Elon Musk just sent a warning to Tesla shorts that if they don't exit their position before Tesla reaches autonomy, they will be obliterated. Having said that, the tide does seem to be turning, with now a total of 2,208 institutions increasing their stake in Tesla, buying over 98.6 million shares. Even Norges, who voted no on Elon's comp package, now jumped in from 0 to 37.3 million shares. Deutsche Bank increased their stake by 21%, JP Morgan by 17%, Amundi by 20%, Capital Research by 30%, and Valeo by a whopping 6,174% buy. To top this off, we're now seeing positive articles being written about Elon and Tesla. I didn't think we'd ever see the day. A prominent law professor wrote an opinion piece saying the Delaware court wrongly stripped billions from Elon Musk. We'll look at this argument. And an automotive journalist, Scotty Reese, took a ride in Tesla's Robotaxi and said it was flawless and only saw good things. Today we have Cern Basher joining us, a chartered financial analyst running his own investment advisory firm called BrilliantAdvice. Thank you so much, Cern. Appreciate you joining me.
Hi, Herbert. I'm happy to be here. This should be some interesting topics today.
Yeah, so this, following the stock, and we're always saying, why haven't institutions or big money found us? Well, they have. They've been buying the last 2 quarters now. Retail has gone up and down. They're afraid, but no. In fact, these guys have switched over. Let's start off with the shorts, though, because Elon replied to this. Alexander Mertz pointed this out, saying, here's a list of current net short sellers of Tesla. The number one position is new, this company called MUFG, Mother Yuff, Securities EMA, a London-based wholly owned investment banking subsidiary Mitsubishi, part of Japanese Mitsubishi Financial Group. Okay, not related to Mitsubishi Motors. So if you see this, they're shorts. This is net long, so obviously sometimes they have a call and they have a put, net long, and they're short at this point. Jane Street, Citadel still there. But a few, of course, who used to be there, long gone. This is the nice list here. And then you've got Elon saying if they don't exit their short position before Tesla reaches autonomy at scale, they will be obliterated. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, he's right with the prospective returns that Tesla has ahead of itself in the next few years. I think that's could be quite painful for short sellers. The one thing, though, I would mention, I think, just to sort of as a caveat to the list shows, the value of the equity, the call value, the put value. It may not necessarily be true that all of those companies are betting against Tesla, that they're expecting the stock to go down. There are reasons to be net short for other types of trading strategies. They might be using a strategy that bets on the volatility, for example, of Tesla. And if the realized volatility is less than the implied volatility, they can make money that way. There's different strategies that might have them net short for a period of time. So I don't just want to say that, here's a blanket list and they're all betting against Tesla. That may not be true.
Yeah, exactly. So in this list, for example, if you got a call and a put, then right, it just happens to be net short right now. But these ones here, where they're actually just absolutely, they're betting that the stock's going to fall at that point. Right?
Yeah, the problem with this is a snapshot in time. We don't know then what happened the following day. And the call value and the put values, we don't know the nature of those options. Are they all at the same strike price? Are they all over the same time period? We just don't know the structure of the trade, right? And there may be many different structures and many different strategies that each one of these firms is pursuing. Some of them are very sophisticated in this type of activity. Doesn't mean that they always make money, but the sophistication of the trading strategy sometimes is very impressive.
Let's take a look at the big whale institutions who are buying. The 13F forms were submitted, and they have to, submit this, and they have to report on this. Key institutional investors increasing their Tesla holdings. You got a total of 2,208 institutions have increased their stake in Tesla, purchasing over 98.6 million additional shares. You got Vanguard adding 4.5 million shares, increasing their holding by just 1.82%, but they're big numbers. JP Morgan, 16.745% increase in their stake. That's a significant change. 6.6 million shares that they bought. BlackRock, and State Street, Geode. So this is their list here of the top holders. This is the top holders. You can see that Vanguard now has 85 million shares that they own. Yeah. Wait. That's the value.
251 million shares.
251 million shares. Yeah. 85 billion. 85
Billion.
million.
Billion.
Billion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to be careful. But yeah, 70 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money, but we know that they hold a lot. That's fine. It's just the changes that you're looking for here. And Alexandra pointed out that 61 million Tesla shares in Q2, right at the middle of the Tesla hate and Elon derangement syndrome. This is what this, while the great support the stock, she is worried about the vote, because now 56% voting power is in the hands of these big institutions, and Elon and Kimball need to recuse. That gives retail shareholders just 44%. So this is something you just have to be aware of, that institutional ownership has risen since last year and over the last year. So just something to be aware of. And then if you look at the
previous chart, Herbert, just go back there real quick. I think it's just really interesting to note the big step up there that we see in December of 2022. And if folks will recall, that was when Tesla was added to the S&P 500. So it was about 1 million shares that were picked up by institutions at that time.
They were forced to. They needed to be buying it at this point.
And the stock jumped 25% in one day on the strength of that.
Yeah. And probably this could happen, right? If there's a re-rating of Tesla into a tech company, something like that, then it could jump a little bit more. We'll see. So this is the list of people changing. Here you got a company called Valeo. We'll dive deeper into what they ended up doing. 6,000%. They really just started buying. 30%, 20%, JP Morgan 17%. You can see this list here. This is the order of who and them started buying. And then the big buys, and there's one company, Norges. They went from zero. And they were actually an organization that voted no on Elon's comp package. Now they had to hold shares, 37 million. So are you thinking that there's more and more of this, where you can't be holding the bag with nothing, so people will start buying shares?
Well, this one is both exciting and also worrisome at the same time. Norges Bank essentially runs the Norwegian government pension fund, which is the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, about 1.8 trillion in assets. Absolutely massive investment fund. This represents now about 0.7% of their portfolio, so less than 1% of their assets, but obviously a significant shareholder, a significant chunk of shares. They have owned Tesla before, and as you mentioned, they've voted against the various plans. So that's some concern for this one going forward. I'm assuming they didn't buy these shares so they could vote no again. That would seem stupid. But they may still own the stock and like the company, but still vote no on this next compensation plan. That's certainly possible.
Very good point. Okay.
The other thing too, Herbert, actually, while we're on this page, we talk about Vanguard buying shares and BlackRock and some of these others, and I would just point out that these companies, they're a combination of active and passive funds, particularly Vanguard and BlackRock. They're some of the largest index funds in the world. And so it's not necessarily the actions of Vanguard managers or BlackRock managers, buying, selling Tesla because they like it or don't like it. It's the activity of the underlying shareholders in those index funds, just adding money on a monthly basis, in the 401k plans, et cetera, to those funds.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, another great point that you made there. And then there's companies like organizations like National Bank Canada, negative 30%, negative here. So it's there. But as you pointed out, which is very interesting, these guys this is big money. They have the money. Like you were just saying, right? Norges Bank has trillion. That can move it, right?
They're a very important investor in the world. And for them now to have a 0.7% of their total portfolio in Tesla is encouraging. They will have to buy more at some point, in my opinion, but it's a good start. I would also note here that we've got a couple of lines, Capital Research, Global Investors, about halfway down, it's bold. And then number 5 on the chart, Capital World Investors. The Capital Group is considered to be one of the best active managers in the world. And they've been accumulating Tesla stock. So, if you're looking at this list and saying, okay, what could we glean from this? Sure, institutions collectively are adding shares. That's great, and that's really encouraging, right? But there are also some investors that I would consider pretty smart money acquiring shares at this point.
Vanguard. So they've increased, right? Tesla holdings for 19 consecutive quarters, uninterrupted for over 4 years. They boosted Tesla position by 4.5 million shares. Now you pointed out that it could be, just more people putting more money, or they're feeling better, they're having more cash. Will you choose shoulder to shoulder with this patient capital or wait for market sentiment? That's what this guy's saying. Continue sharing opportunities in 10x growth. Okay, that's what he does. Okay, so, yep. Continuing to add.
Yeah, and I think this next chart
player.
really is a reflection of Vanguard's overall growth. I think if you overlaid the growth in assets under management for Vanguard, it would probably look very similar to this chart, basically.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very large firm. They do have some active funds, and they have a lot of passive money. And just the fact that people are adding money to their portfolios on a regular basis, it's just going to cause them to buy more and more Tesla shares.
Way to explain that. Now, Deutsche Bank, here we go, boosts Tesla's stake by 20% to over $2.6 billion. They now own 10 million Tesla shares, an additional 1.7 compared to the previous quarter, valued at $2.6 billion. That's great, man. Wouldn't you love to own several $1 billion worth of Tesla stock right now?
Yeah, and it's funny because 2.6 billion on a market cap of 1.1 trillion, it's significant, but it's not huge.
It's 0.31% of that. It's not the only firm. Charles Schwab, Evolution Wealth. Overall, institutional support for Tesla remains robust. 66% of the company stock held by hedge funds and large vendors. Okay. Deutsche, this is the same thing. I think nothing here is new here. And then Valeo, what are they doing? Valeo Financial Advisors, 6,000%. So they obviously from 0 to now 3.8 million shares, valued at $1.2 billion as of June 30th.
Yeah, so I would wonder on this, because they are a financial advisory firm, not too dissimilar to what I do, what Bradford Ferguson does, and others, whether or not they actually acquired these shares on behalf of their clients, or whether or not they actually attracted a new client to the firm that just happens to have 3.8 million shares of Tesla in his or her portfolio. But
they bought at $300. So it's not too late at 300 something, right? I mean, they're seeing it as bullish here, what's going to happen. Prioritizing their clients' interests and serves clients over 35 states. They have 97 to 200 advisors. Like you were saying, they manage approximately 10.6 billion in assets for 3,000 clients. That doesn't sound that big, but that's good.
Well, if they have 10 billion in assets, then what was the total in Tesla? Over $1 billion?
Mm-hmm.
10, 12, 14% of their assets in Tesla, that's a pretty significant bet.
Big bet.
Yep. Which leads me to believe it's probably more likely that they attracted a very large client who has a lot of Tesla shares.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Understood.
It seems to be highly unlikely that they would make such a big bet across their portfolio of all their clients to put 14, 15% of their assets in Tesla.
Okay. Yeah. I reached out to Valeo. Hopefully I can have an interview with them and find out if it was just because they're bullish, or maybe, like you said, they got a new client that's already invested in it. Interesting. Good to have you here, man. You know what you're doing. Okay, so those are the people buying. Now you've got folks writing good things, believe it or not, good things about Tesla. This guy is Robert Miller. He's a law professor. He wrote this op-ed piece saying the Delaware court wrongly stripped billions from Elon. The state's court of chancery relied on an incoherent legal doctrine to overturn the Musk's compensation package. The court made a serious mistake that affected more than just Tesla and Elon. With most public companies incorporated in Delaware, the Delaware courts, globally renowned for their objectivity and commercial sophistication, supply corporate law to the nation. They're an important national asset. To maintain their integrity, the state's Supreme Court should overrule the Court of Chancery's decision. Musk deserves his $56 billion, and if the Delaware Supreme Court agrees, it will restore the integrity of the state's long-hallowed courts. So, opinion piece. I don't know if it means anything. This is Robert Miller. You can see his background here. But at least it's good to see people stepping up and being very careful, because the impact to Delaware has been so huge. The Supreme Court cannot risk not overturning, not letting Tesla win their appeal. But this is good to hear. So, I'm not going to go through that, but if you read through the article, then you'll see his positioning, his evidence of what he thinks is why it was a mistake.
Yeah, I thought his reasoning was very sound. Again, I'm not a legal scholar, so I'm just a layperson reading this, but the way that he presented this to me made a lot of sense. I would also note that he noted that the legislature in Delaware has already taken steps to stop this kind of lawsuit and crazy judgment again. And so that's a strong sign that they've overstepped their bounds. Basically, legislature has changed the law in Delaware. Now, it wasn't retroactive, so this still has to be fought out in court. But it was, to me, a very strong signal that they realized that the courts had overstepped their bounds. And this is not the kind of result that they were looking for. So we'll
he
see
backs it up.
if this...
I mean, he's saying if you have a single shareholder that owns a majority of the voting power within a corporation, a controlling shareholder, that's different. That's one example of what he's writing here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting piece. I would encourage folks to read it.
Nowhere near an absolute majority. So unlike the controlling shareholder in this precedent case, they had no right to appoint directors. The only other power Musk had over Tesla was his immense talent as chief executive officer. I like that he didn't just focus on the legalities of whether or not this was ruled correctly or not, and he's telling the Supreme Court you better let them win the appeal, but he's actually saying Elon deserves this. He's saying good things.
Yeah, it's interesting too. There's a couple of things, that last paragraph there where he talks about, at one point Musk on his own initiative even reduced his request because he thought it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the court certainly was concerned about the fact that Musk was basically dictating the terms of his plan, but he reduced his request. So, it was interesting. Just sort of looking at the facts of this, the thing that's most concerning to me, just again as a layperson, that you've had two shareholder votes, and for the court to ignore the first one, fine, 76% passed, right? In the second one, 77% of shareholders approved, and the court again continues to ignore that, the will of the shareholders. That to me definitely feels like the court is overstepping its bounds. If you believe that Tesla did a poor job of informing shareholders on the first vote and all that, fine, okay, let's accept that. But there was a second vote that was very, very, a lot of information was shared with shareholders about the deal. And to argue now that the shareholders don't know what they're doing is insane to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I personally would be shocked if the Delaware Supreme Court continues to let this ruling stand. I would be absolutely shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know then what happens after that. Does it go to the U.S. Supreme Court? Perhaps it does.
Yeah, I think what's good that has happened since then is the exodus away from Delaware. It's just one company after another, and the ball is rolling pretty significantly. So Delaware played with fire, and now they're seeing it. They're losing this revenue. So now the citizens of Delaware is going to have to pay for it with higher taxes. They're going to lose a lot of revenue. So I think it's over. I mean, I don't know if they can reverse it. They may be able to stop it, but yeah, this was a major mistake. And then I think Alexandra said that if you look at what the Tesla board did, they awarded Elon 1/3 of what he is owed. That means that she thinks that kind of lets you know that they think that there's a 66% chance of winning the appeal. It's not 100%. It's about 66%, 2/3 chance of winning this. And if it is, great. This thing will be moot, and they'll just get rid of it. But if they lose it, at least they have a third already recompensated back to Elon.
My understanding or my interpretation of why it was just a third is more to do with the amount of shares available to them under the existing plan.
They used it all up already.
Yeah.
They need the next shareholder to get to top it up again.
Yeah.
And then be able to offer again, maybe. Yeah.
Right. They went as far as they could under the existing approvals with the plans that they have in place. And
that makes sense.
They can't really go beyond that at this point without further approval. But I do think it was interesting here, just on this case again. He mentions that the state's General Assembly intervened earlier this year and amended the Delaware General Corporations Law to provide that in most cases, courts cannot deem a person with less than 1/3 of a corporation's voting power to be a controlling shareholder. And that was one of the key factors in the court's decision on this. And he says the law does not apply retrospectively, though, so it will not affect Musk's appeal in the Delaware Supreme Court. But again, to me, that's a strong sign that the Delaware legislature said, we don't want the court to be treating people that less than a third of voting power to be a controlling shareholder, and all the subsequent rules that apply to that. So it'll be interesting to watch. And I thought, too, this was kind of interesting. He concludes, he says, if he prevails on appeal, Musk intends to use his $56 billion from Tesla to fund his plans at SpaceX to colonize Mars. And he says, I don't care about Mars, but I do care about Delaware. So this guy's coming at it from not a I love Tesla perspective, but I love the rule of law for the sake of Delaware.
Makes sense. Makes sense what he's saying. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty obvious what the judge did. The very first sentence she put was, the richest man on earth. What does that matter? How much money he has, whether or not he deserves what this issue is on hand. Doesn't matter.
The implication with that kind of statement is that we should, not necessarily hate the guy, but why would you mention it? Why is that even relevant, right? It's not even relevant to the situation. Yeah.
Okay. So again, it feels like the tide is turning, right? You got institutions buying more stock. Clearly, the company has hit milestones. Robotaxi is launched. Robotaxi live. FSD seems to be working and headed towards more safer than a human. All of that is happening. And so institution investors are being pulled in, realizing, no, we need to invest in this. Then you've got this Delaware, okay? That was a big hit to Tesla, but now there's movement. Looking positive. We'll see, right? The actual appeal actually starts happening in mid-October. This one is an automotive journalist who wrote a good thing about Tesla. She took a ride in Tesla's Robotaxi, and the entire article, it's a long article, was very positive. What it's like to ride in a Robotaxi. So Scotty Rice is her name. The Robotaxi began our ride smoothly and easily navigating through busy downtown Austin, changing lanes to get out of a bus lane, steering safely through a construction zone. The ride was really comfortable. Each route was simple and direct, something that self-driving rideshare doesn't always get right because they have to line their drop-off points with a lot of other data, including pre-selected passenger loading locations. We didn't experience any of the early hiccups riders reported in the first weeks of Robotaxi rides. I appreciated the calm feel in the cabin, thanks in part to the lack of screens. There are only two, a large center screen on the front dash and the traffic around you, including pedestrians, and a small screen in the rear seat. So everything was very, very positive. The Robotaxi rides were flawless. They never felt like the car was unsafe, misidentifying signs or other vehicles, or ignoring the rules of the road. So
just before you leave that page, Herbert, I thought she said something there in that top paragraph that actually was very interesting. So she says, they're in a parking lot. Robotaxi waited patiently and chose considerate places to let us out each time, once even pulling into an empty spot. The Waymo chose less considerate places to pick up or drop off, making traffic behind it wait for us to load into the car. Again, there seems to be a fundamental difference between how Tesla's approaching this versus how Waymo approaches it. And we've seen plenty of situations, and I think you personally experienced it in Austin in a Waymo, where it dropped you off basically on the street in front of Terry Black's barbecue.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the Tesla Robotaxi, I'm not aware of it ever doing that for people. It always found somewhere else to park, even if it was down the street around the corner.
That's happened to me too, right? The very first time I had to pick up the Tesla Robotaxi, everybody made fun because I had to walk 2 blocks to it. But they chose a safe location, and because that street that I happened to pick, you were with me, was the busiest street on Austin. Yes. I don't know why we chose that spot. It's kind of dumb on our part, but we weren't thinking. We were just like, let's find a cool place to sit and then let's order a Robotaxi. No one should be picking us up on that road. They need to find somewhere to park. And then you're right. When I took the Waymo, it took me to the Terry Black's restaurant. It just dropped us off right at the middle of the busiest street. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Get out now? I was like, this is scary. I said, I'm not. And then I just got out because I'm sitting right beside the sidewalk. And I said to Chuck, come out this way because you don't want to go out that route, on the middle of the road. It was scary. Yeah. But, yeah.
And I think what will happen too, Herbert, is that we're going to see cities change the way that they lay out their streets and parking. So on that street we were on, instead of having on-street parking, there'll likely be on-street like drop-off and pickup zones.
Drop-off, pickup zones. Yeah,
right? That'll make a
exactly.
lot of sense just for traffic flow, and so that people can be picked up and dropped off within reasonable distances that are safe. They have to be safe spots to do that.
So well, look at this article. Fantastic. I took a Tesla Robotaxi around Austin, and this is what it's like and why I feel safe. Big bold letters right in the title, and why you should be excited about self-driving cars. Isn't it great? It's like, oh, I don't want to scare you, but this stat really scared me. Every 8 minutes, Uber receives a complaint of a sexual assault, threat, or harassment in its cars, according to New York Times. Alexandra Mertz has been saying this, that she actually thinks the biggest use case and the biggest user segment for self-driving cars, women. They're afraid of taking an Uber or Lyft with some sort of unknown driver who can do all sorts of anything they want. And look at that. Every 8 minutes, they receive a complaint of sexual assault, threat, or harassment. I didn't know this stat.
It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. It's horrifying. I can't believe it. If this is in fact true, and I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the data. If it is true, it's something that more people need to be aware of. I don't think the average person realizes just how frequent this occurs for Uber.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I tell my friends and family is never give away our house. Always choose another house in the street as where the drop-off point is, because you know you got the Uber driver knowing where you live. You know, I also found myself thinking about cruise. I cruised around Austin quite a few times, but the traffic catastrophes and accidents, some fatal, ended its existence. I also thought about the lawsuits. Oh, the Cruise was obviously the company that had to be gone, but they were, you know, they had a couple issues that had to issue.
And their licenses basically yanked because they were lying about the issues. That's never a good look for regulators. Any regulator I've ever known looks down upon people lying to them.
So she went with Kyle Connor, invited me for a day of Robotaxi rides, and it's a very long article, so I'm not going to go through it all, but it's great. She explained every ride, exactly what the experience is, all the things that was great about it, and all positive. So
yeah, it was an excellent article. I thought it was very, very fair. I thought the comment that she made about the interior of a Robotaxi being pristine and feeling like a new car was, I mean, it's obviously true because those cars are new, but that's an important thing, I think, to think about in keeping those vehicles clean. And we've already seen Tesla's, prototype robot for cleaning the vehicles, at least cybercabs. Hopefully that can be used for all the vehicles. I need one of those in my garage just to clean our family car. My kids seem to be able to make that pretty messy pretty fast. So hopefully that's a product that we can all buy. Yeah.
So it seems like, the big thing was, does it work? And if so, then investors will jump in. And right now it's looking like it does work. And it's almost a done deal at this point. We know the AI is improving. We know that it's already gone past, at this point, safe as a human now. And what we're waiting for is 10 times safer than a human. We're already there. Then it's will the public accept this? And we're actually seeing Waymo numbers go up. Their usage is higher than they took market share away from Uber and Lyft. And now you're seeing more and more people saying, I actually prefer this than Uber Lyft. So that was the next big question mark: is anybody ever take because you less than a year ago, if you did a survey and you ask anybody, 90% said no, I'll never take an a driverless car. Now they realize it's actually not as bad as they think, and they're going to do it. So there are more articles about this will happen, and that's great. Yeah. So do you think that there is a tide that's turned?
Well, I think so. I think too that we are all indicators of that and not realizing it, right? We've been experiencing FSD as it was rough and it slowly improved, and we got excited about every single one of those improvements, and we were hopeful, and it continues to improve. But the reality is, throughout that whole time period, what we were showing ourselves, what we're showing everybody else, is that this process of getting comfortable with autonomous vehicles, for us, it happened over a long period of time because it took FSD a while. But for somebody who's never experienced it before, they step in that vehicle the first time.
Shocked.
And it drives the way that it drives better than really any human. You are immediately comfortable because the vehicle is not doing anything weird, right? And again, you don't have to worry about the human driver that would have otherwise been in the car. Whether the human driver is trying to do something to you, or the human driver is distracted, or the human driver's got music that's playing that you don't like, or the human driver wants to talk to you when you don't want to have a conversation, whatever the issue is, all that goes away and you're in this calm, serene cabin all by yourself or with your friends. That's what people want. And if you can deliver that to them at a lower price, then it's game over.
Personalized to you. I still love the fact that it's my music, my movies, my access to everything. It's like my car, basically. Every time I go into any Robotaxi, it will be my car. It's personalized to me. I've got access to everything. I can choose my music.
The other thing too that you mentioned in the article was, I guess Kyle had set the driver's seat from his app in the furthest forward position. So when they got in the car, the driver's seat was all the way forward, so he had more legroom. And she said every Robotaxi they went into after that, same thing.
I didn't realize that you can do that in the app. You can control the car in the app. Like I never did it when we were driving.
Right.
That you can.
I didn't realize either until I read the article and saw what she said there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So lots of great things. So anyways, I do think we have, we're now in that point where more and more good articles. Not saying that the hate will stop. It will continue and it will become worse as we move forward because we are so close. But it's nice to see a few flipping over and coming on our side at this point. So
the truth will always come out.
Yeah.
And people are looking for a better experience. They will find it. Right, the word of mouth will spread. More articles will be written. People will read this. People will watch shows like this. They'll share it with their friends and family. The word slowly spreads around. This is going to be a hugely successful service.
Yeah, I think you and I have had this discussion a few times, but it's a big deal because right now Tesla sells cars. Customers buy cars. Customers who buy the car love those cars. Now Tesla's selling Robotaxi rides, which is like a certain consumer segment that they would never have ridden in a Tesla ever. Now they're getting to experience a Tesla, but now they're experiencing a Tesla service. And it's like daily, right? It's a consumable service. And then they'll be using it regularly. And just the sheer number of people will take it. This is a consumer. It's like when Apple moved from selling computers to selling iPods. That's the difference between what's going to happen to this company. This Tesla is going to become consumer, wide, mass market, and positive word of mouth, positive experiences.
So here's something to think about, because right now the number of people that are evangelists for Tesla is a pretty small group, right? Some even call it a cult, whatever you call it, whatever you want. But what happens now if you can reach a wider audience of people and those people become evangelists as well, right? I think it's kind of much like what Apple experienced when the iPhone started to really expand, right? That's the kind of opportunity I think that Tesla has here. And that's interesting to think about also from a stock perspective, because it's kind of like, well, okay, I love the service. Can I invest in this company?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It'll be an explosion. We already had 10 million retail investors, which is the largest retail investor base compared to any other company. That's going to double now that Tesla becomes a consumer play. Thank you so much, Cern. Appreciate it. Check out his website, BrilliantAdvice.net. Chartered financial analyst. Check him out. Follow him. Go to his X account and follow him there. But you got to stay on this account, then this YouTube to watch him here. Doesn't have a YouTube channel yet. Okay.
YouTube squatter. Thank you.
Bye all. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.